Hey boys, welcome back to the channel, and it's going to be the round 1 recap here, going over the first round of the 2021 NRL season. You know, a great start to the campaign. A lot of, highly anticipated, a lot of good matches, a couple of stinkers, but overall I thought the footy was pretty good. I thought generally for round 1 it's always a bit scrappy, but I thought overall it was a very high standing and very high quality round or first round of football. So let's get straight in here. It's going to be kicking us off with the Storm v Rabbits. I did tip the Rabbits, so this one, I mean, like I said in my prediction, I did tip the Rabbits, but it was a very tough choice. I did think the Storm had a better forward pack and a much stronger forward pack, and I think, I think that's what it came down to in the end, especially the first 40. They were steamrolling the Rabbits. Like they fully had momentum. They were making plenty of ground every set. The Rabbitohs did not turn up in that first 40. Don't know why. But the Storm were on fire, and how could you? What was I thinking? How can you pick against the Storm round 1 of a new campaign? When's the last time they lost a round one game? It's been a hell of a long time. And yeah, they showed why they win the round 1 performance. It's weird because you don't, every team first round, they're going to be hyped up, they're going to be ready to go, but they just do that. They do the little things right. They come out and just do all the 1%ers from the get-go, and that's what sets them apart. And I sort of, the Rabbitohs got back into it, but I don't know, I think it's always a bit weird when a team gets out to such a big lead like the Storm do, even if it is the Storm, it just happens, The other team, it's not like the Rabbitohs got lucky calls or anything, but just in general, the game sort of swings back a little bit, and the team that's leading, they let off the throttle a little bit, and that's sort of what happened. I did think the Rabbitohs definitely played a hell of a lot better, but the Storm are pretty much in control of that game from the first minute of action. And yeah, just a clinical performance. I thought Brandon Smith was excellent in dummy half. Totally outshone Damien Cook. He was strong in defense. I mean, he made 35 tackles, but every one of them was strong, dude. He's an absolute monster. And his runs, like he did it so often. He kept, in that first half especially, he kept fooling the Rabbitohs markers. They were shocking around the marker play, but he kept doing it. He kept going out to either the right or left, throw a little dummy, and then cut back to the other side. And every time the markers would fall for it, and he just kept getting on the back of these big forwards, Solomona, Welsh, all those guys steaming forward. He was just getting quick play the balls, taking off, giving good service out to Munster and Jerome Hughes, and that was the real clincher in this game. Papenhuyzen again was outstanding. The fullbacks, I mean, Latrell Mitchell, I said in the preview, I think Latrell's in for a big year, and he was outstanding. He was, I think, yeah, he was definitely the Rabbitohs' best player. And it was good to see. Like he was good for pretty much the whole game. I mean, the first half he didn't really see too much of it, but overall he had a solid game throughout. But the battle of the fullbacks was a great one to watch. Any other standouts here for the Storm? I mean, I will say, when the Rabbits started to actually attack George Jennings and Remus Smith, they started to find quite a bit of play. And it's funny because that's the Rabbitohs attacked their left-hand side, and that's where Smith and Jennings were. So it was weird that they I don't know, they just couldn't find their groove in that first half. But there's a little bit to work on with the Storm. I don't know. They were solid, but definitely defensively, I don't know, Bellamy we'll see what he does with those two. I thought they were okay, but definitely a weaker side that got a little bit exploited. But at the end of the day, like, it was the Rabbitohs' left-hand attack, which is torn apart some of the best defensive edges. So, you know, it's a little harsh on those two. But Munster was outstanding once again. You know, every time he touches it, he's dangerous defensively. I would say he's probably the strongest 5'8" in the game, in all honesty. Like, he's so strong in defense. His reads are outstanding. One-on-one, he's great. And yeah, their forward pack, like I said, I think their forward pack was just a little bit stronger than the Rabbits. The bench wasn't too much of a factor. I thought it was mainly their starters. You know, Christian Walsh was great. Kafusi, Bromwich, Solomona. Just, you know, everyone just did their job as the Storm do. For the Rabbits, like I said, Latrell Mitchell was outstanding. None of the other backs really looked that great. Josh Mansour we had a bit of he was okay, but he came up with a couple of errors like he does. Cody Walker started to find a little bit of his groove in that second half. I thought their forward pack overall, it was actually weird how Bennett used the bench and their forward pack. I'm still a little confused because Sewer, he played 37 minutes. Really weird. He came off, obviously 30... Well, he came off early, actually. He went back on late, but came off early. Benji Marshall went on. And, well, they all went on. But, yeah, Sewell went off, which, I don't know. I couldn't tell if he got an injury or a head knock, but I think he just got hooked. Jai Arrow was outstanding. And I know everyone kept saying, like, why is he on the bench? But obviously he's coming back from injuries. He had a little niggle in the preseason. Obviously at the Titans he was constantly injured. So I wasn't surprised they started him on the bench. But, you know, he's definitely going to work his way into the starting. I would imagine the starting front row. Because you would think Cameron Murray has to stay at lock. Jai Arrow... You know, he can play in the front row department. Either I would say get rid of Burgess for Jai Arrow. Totola was pretty good. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Kalamatangi was also really good off the bench as well. So I honestly think Kalamatangi should be starting ahead of Jacob Host, who I thought was okay, but I think Kalamatangi just offers a little bit more, but I guess he was training in the second row, but it probably more is middle forward now. But I don't know if he could transition to the back row and make it a bit stronger. But you know, signs there were good for the Rabbitohs. They'll definitely be better for the run. I think. You know, they're still one of the heavyweight teams, even with that performance. I think the scoreline did flatter them, but they'll be better for the run for sure. But yeah, Storm get the win there, so we're none from one. The next game, the Knights v the Dogs, and the Knights, like I expected, they did win pretty comfortably over the Dogs. I did see, dude, on Twitter, there were so many people complaining that the Dogs got very unlucky with the refereeing. I mean, honestly, I watched pretty much all of this game, and I don't know, I didn't really notice too much going against the Dogs. I mean, I don't think they got too many, like, 6 to goes and stuff, but I don't know, man. I thought they were pretty rubbish, in all honesty. I don't think you can really blame the refs for that one. The Knights, and again, and it's bad signs for the Dogs for round one here. To concede, it was wet weather footy, for one. Kalen Ponga wasn't there. Kurt Mann got injured very early on. So, you know, to concede 32 points in wet weather footy, like... I don't think it's great signs for the Bulldogs. They did look better in attack than they have in previous years, I will admit. But yeah, to concede that many in round one with those conditions, I would be a little bit worried as a Dog supporter. But yeah, looking at the team, the standouts and stuff, I actually, you know what, I'll give Karl Flanagan a little bit of a little bit of a rap. I actually thought he was pretty solid. Yeah, we'll talk about the Dogs for a second here. So yeah, Karl Flanagan, you know, I've given him a lot of flack over the last year or so. I don't think he is. I don't think he's that good, and I was still a little bit surprised that the Dogs picked him up. But he was probably one of their better players. He actually looked. He set up a couple of tries. He definitely created, you know, some good attacking plays off his bat. So, you know, Karl Flanagan, I think stood up pretty well, and you know, good signs there. Jake Avarillo, like I mentioned in the preview, I don't know. There's a lot of hype around him, but I've yet to really be convinced. His defense, again, I think is very ordinary to be playing at 5'8". I think like he ran the ball maybe like twice for the whole game. Like he's definitely a ball running 5'8", but he did not run the footy at all in this game. So yeah, a lot of work to do there. He'll definitely have to pick it up if he wants to keep that spot, because I mean they've got some depth in the halves, not like superstars waiting in the wings, but they've got some players. I mean, Wakeham, there's Lachlan Lewis there. There's some options, and I think Avarillo, you know, he's talented. He's got skills. He's got a good. He kicked the ball pretty well, but yeah, not a great first round for him. Nick Cottrick, I thought, you know, his debut for the club, I thought he was pretty good. It looked like he was named as centre, but I felt like for most of the game he just played on the wing regardless. And you know, I think that's sort of the beauty with their team, is that they can sort of switch their wingers, and even Corey Allen can switch with Hopewade, and you know, they can all move around to fullback, wing, and centre. And Cottrick, you know, he's just a guy you want to give the footy as much as possible to. He looked dangerous every time he touched it. Corey Allen, the new recruited fullback, I thought he was solid. But obviously, you know, at the Rabbitohs last year, playing in that attacking team, you know, he was outstanding for the Bulldogs in their attacking, with their attacking players. He was good. He was good without being great, I would say. But I think, again, good signs going forward for him. Their forward pack, Hetherington, I was a little bit disappointed with Hetherington. I mean, he was solid. He played big minutes, 57 minutes, but I was expecting a little bit more impact from him, and I guess that's sort of the trade-off, because obviously he's starting now. He's got to play bigger minutes, so that does take away a little bit of that, you know, full-on aggression. And he's probably trying to tone it back as well with and trying not to get suspended. But yeah, a little bit. I think he can offer a little bit more for them with offloads and good footwork. I didn't really see too much of that. But I still like him as a signing. Corey Waddell, I thought was pretty good on the back row. But then their bench, I really thought their bench didn't come on. Like I was looking at the bench, and I'm like, it's pretty solid. I mean, Tony I thought was good in the trials. Vitala Mariner has been very good. You know, in a couple of years ago, Dylan Napa used to be good. I don't know what's happened to Napa, dude, but he only played 17 minutes. I don't know. He doesn't have that imp. I don't know what's happened to him. I don't know, dude. But yeah, they just like that punch that I thought they would get off the bench, and yeah, their forward pack just didn't really match it with the Knights. And yeah, we'll talk about the Knights, because yeah, their forward, like I said in the preview, their forward pack is very good. Like, I think it's definitely one of the top packs in the game. Saifidi had a barnstormer, scored 2 tries, the big fella. David Clemmer, he played 74 minutes, just kept going. Tyson Frizzell, he hasn't played a dude. As a Dragons fan, I'd be salty about Frizzell. Like, he hasn't played this good for the Dragons, like, for a few years, and then he comes out first round for his new club, and he plays like a world beater, dude. Like, I thought for a couple of years, him at the Dragons, he's been very underwhelming for what he can do. And yeah, he I don't know how many runs he made, but at the Dragons, I don't know, he was always like, he barely touched the footy, but yeah, he got his hands on the footy here. He was dangerous. He was tough. Barnett, I love Barnett. I've talked about it before, but in my opinion, he's an Origin player for sure. He probably, I don't know, he's a guy that will probably never play for New South Wales, but in my opinion, he is one of the premium back rowers. I love watching him play. He's got good skill with ball in hand, and his defense, dude, is outstanding. He puts on some of the best hits you'll see, and he does it for the whole time. Like, if the Knights are ever sort of on the back foot or trying to up the ante, he's the guy that's leading the charge. So I love Barnett. Connor Watson, he actually switched back to interchange with Sauaso Sue coming on a lock, which it sort of makes sense. Like, the start of the game, you probably want your big men out there because everyone's fresh, everyone's revved up, ready to go. Connor Watson being a small, nippy player, you probably do want to come on after like 30 minutes. When players are a little fatigued, so that sort of makes sense. But obviously with the Kurt Mann injury, Connor Watson went on at 5'8", and he did a great job. I thought Mitchell Pearce and him combined well. Pearce steered the ship, and Watson just sort of injected himself when needed, and then everyone else was just sort of pretty solid. I don't know why Homer Hunt is number 18 here. Yeah, I don't know. They just got the numbers mixed up. But yeah, the Knights were just very, very good. Well, I mean, they were good. I wouldn't say very good. I thought their forward pack was very good, but they probably were very good. I'm probably being a little bit underselling them. The Broncos Eels. Oh, dude, I don't even want to talk about this game. So I did tip the Eels, and they did end up winning. I'm very salty about this game. Yeah. So again, I'll full disclosure, obviously I'm a Broncos fan, so I'm going to be biased. That's just how it is. If you're not biased towards your club, like, what the hell are you doing? But the Broncos, I mean, a couple of things. They were very unlucky with injuries. Once again, dude, I'm very upset by that, because they just, I mean, just a little bit of luck to go their way this year would have been nice. Already missing Payne Haas and Katoni Staggs. You don't need two major, a front rower and a winger going down in the first half, and then another front rower going down in the start of the second half. I mean, oh boy, it's devastating early in the season. But then on top of that, some of the decisions in this game just were just bewildering. I am stunned. I can't say the Broncos were robbed, because I even at halftime with that lead, having Lodge and Xavier Coates gone, I was very worried, because the way the game is with fatigue, having a winger and a front rower off, it mixes the whole lineup. Everyone's going to be way more fatigued. I knew the Eels were going to come home a lot stronger, and they did. But the refereeing was atrocious. Let's be real. I mean, and if you disagree, I mean, it's fair enough, but I would be surprised if too many people do disagree. The Dylan Brown, David Mead knock on was just nonsense. Like, what's how was that not a Dylan Brown knock on for that? Who scored it? I think it was Gutherson off the Fergie kick. I mean, and that the score at that point, I think, was 16-6 when Gutherson scored in the 50th minute, and that was 2 tries, bang bang, and that was the Eels straight back into it. Now, again, you can't say the Broncos would have won if that wasn't a try, because again, they were off their feet with the injuries, and the Eels were looking a lot stronger in that second half. But to get a try like that, to get them back to like the 4-point deficit, and then just after that, the Turpin no try. Like, what is that, dude? And I don't know. This one might be contentious. I'm not too sure, but let's just break it down. The ball is on the ground, right? Who was it? Tom Opicic. He touches the ball first, and he pushes the ball back But at the same time, he's going from like top to bottom. He's from the top down, right? So he's pushing the ball sideways, but the way pressure works, it's clearly he he's obviously putting pressure on the ball down as well. Like, are we like evaluating how much pressure is on the way down? Like, how can you determine how much pressure is on the footy? Obviously there was some pressure going downwards, and the same thing with Turpin. The fact they called it a knock on from Turpin is just mind blowing, because again, the ball is on the ground and he's pushing from top down. Because Turpin is because Opicic is pushing it away from him, doesn't mean that Turpin's pressure downwards is non-existent. Like, how is it a knock on, dude? I don't even understand it. It doesn't make any sense. If the ball is on the ground and he touches it very slightly, it's still pressure. How can they judge how much pressure is being applied downwards? Like, it's baffling. So those two decisions back to back were just absolute killers. But again, disappointing, but good signs. I know I've rambled on now about the whinging, or me whinging about the decisions for enough here. Let's get into some of the player discussions. I thought everyone in the backline was pretty good. David Mead's return to the Bronx, he was outstanding. Very, very good. Herbie Farnworth and Tessiniu, I thought were strong in the centres before Herbie had to go to the wing. But I thought both the young guys here, great potential. Obviously, Katoni will be back at some stage, which will, you'd imagine, shift Herbie to the wing over Mead, which, or maybe Tessie just drops out of the team, because David Mead was outstanding, but there's some good signs with the young fellas in the back line. Jermaine Asako, I thought was pretty good. He was sharp. He didn't make too many mistakes. Looked pretty confident. Anthony Milford, I saw a couple of people criticizing Milford. I don't really understand why. I thought Milford was outstanding. That was one of his better games for a long time. And I feel a bit bad for Milford, because last year he barely played any games. Like, he was injured for, I don't know how many games he was out for, but he was injured for a bulk of the season. And when he did play, the Broncos were already a rabble. Their forwards were getting dominated. Like, I feel a little bad for Milford. I thought he was outstanding in this game. His kicking game was superb. He ran the footy a lot, and yeah, I thought he created a lot. Brodie Croft, I thought had honestly a shocker. I thought Croft was honestly pretty rubbish. Just a couple of efforts. I watched the Broncos very closely when I watched them, and I don't know, some of his defensive efforts were pretty weak. There was a time there where the ball was it spilt out the back, and Croft was the closest to it, but he just didn't have any urgency to put his body on the line to grab it, and the Eels came up with it. Like, just a few moments like that where I'm just like, what is he doing? So, I said in the preview, I wasn't too upset with him being in the team, because, they thankfully they didn't pay him massive bucks, but he's on good money as their premium halfback recruit. So I can get why they're giving him another chance and trying to make him earn that money. He should be playing, but yeah, I think as it is now, Thomas Dearden has to come back in with Milford. I think Dearden is just a better player. I think Croft, I don't know. He might come good. Maybe they'll give him a few more weeks, but I thought he was pretty rubbish. Pengai Jr. I thought was good. He only played the 38 minutes, which, he can be a bit like that because he plays, when he's out there, he goes a million miles an hour. So he is a very impact-oriented player. But I would like a little bit more out of him. 38 minutes, if the Broncos are to win, you need Pengai Jr. out there. He can turn the game by himself. And I've said this before, but he is something else. And I want that 38 up to about, 55, 60. And, it's tough, but I think we need him. We need him to play bigger minutes than 38 if we're to really sort of topple the better teams in the comp. Turpin played the full 80. I thought was very good. Matt Lodge obviously picked up that hamstring injury, so what do you say? Glenn, Ricky, that was solid without being too great. I thought Ricky, it wasn't his best game, Ricky, but still good signs. Pat Carrigan, dude. The Pat Carrigan he is one of the best players running around. He played 80 minutes at lock. The workload was insane, and obviously with the injuries, he probably wouldn't have played 80 minutes, but for like a young kid, dude, he is a future rep star for sure. And he carried the Broncos forward pack last year, and he started very well again this year. Asiata, I thought, was looking really good until he picked up that burner, so disappointing there. Thomas Flegler looked okay. I'm honestly not a big fan of Flegler. I think, I don't know, and again, he had to play bigger minutes because of the injuries, and he gets gassed. He always looks so gassed if he's out there for any extended time, and he gives away so many 6-to-goes just with lying in the ruck, dude. It's very frustrating to watch at times. Ethan Bullimore, he was never going to play big minutes, but I thought he should have given him a few more minutes. He is a future star as well. When he was out there, he looked really, really good. So I was a little bit disappointed with the injuries. I thought he'd play more minutes, but not to be. In Bentio, I thought was pretty good having to fill in at centre. And then on the flip side, the Eels, thought Mitchell Moses and Brown looked pretty sharp. Junior Paulo was good. I actually thought he played more than 59 minutes. I thought he played more minutes than that. Sean Lane had an absolute stinker. I don't know what happened to Sean Lane. He played absolutely trash. But the way where it's really won, their bench was insane. Dude, Oregon Kafusi and freaking Isaiah Papali'i, dude, he's been rubbish for the Warriors for the last couple of years. He comes off the bench for the Eels and plays the best game I've seen him play in a long time, and it's against my boys the Bronx. I was furious watching it. He was unstoppable. And then Will Smith came on with 3 minutes to go, and the rest of their team, their backs played well. Like, they just make so much ground out of the end. Blake Ferguson was sort of back to some of his form of old. So, I think the Eels got away with this one. Again, would they have wanted look at that, dude. Isaiah Papali'i, 200 running meters off the bench. Far out, dude. I was so mad about that. He just, oh, man. Would the Eels have won it regardless of those decisions? You can't say either way. They were coming home the strongest, so yeah, tough one regardless. But yeah, disappointing refereeing, but good signs for the Bronx. I thought they were pretty good. Next up, we got the Warriors v Titans. So I picked the Titans in this one, and unfortunately, it wasn't the best game. This one was one of the stinkers in my opinion. It was good conditions, and both teams, I thought they'd be a little bit more attacking, but yeah, only the 4 tries. The Titans try came really late. They had their chances, but they just kept coming up with errors. The Warriors also, they couldn't really put the Titans away, but they were good enough. So I don't know. It's a hard game to really judge. Like, both of these teams, I'm expecting, I don't know. I feel like one of these teams will miss out on the top 8, and I guess as the form stands now, you'd probably say the Titans, but I don't know. I think the Titans, I hope the Titans have something in them to give this year, and have a good season. And the Warriors, they definitely have to improve as well. Like, they got the win pretty comfortably, but against a better team, like, they're not going to, they're going to struggle if they play like that, in my opinion. But looking at the players here, Backline play, I mean, Tuivasa-Sheck, again, every time he touches it, he's dangerous. He had a couple of mistakes, but ever consistent. Ewan Aiken, your recruit there, I thought was pretty strong defensively. You know what you're going to get with Aiken, and I think he is a very good signing for them. Kemba Marlowe, again, he didn't play much last year, so I can sort of understand a little bit of the rust. Him with Fusatua, I think will get better for the run. But yeah, both of those guys were a little bit down on what they can do. I thought Cody Nikirima had an outstanding game. He was sensational. He got a try. I think he had a few try assists, or a couple anyway. Harris Tavita was pretty good. He did. I don't think he's going to get suspended, but he came up with that silly trip on Patrick Herbert. So yeah, he's got to watch that one. He was a little bit blatant, but I think good signs with their halves, because Nikirima is really starting to find his form again since leaving the Broncos. He sort of made this number 6 his own now at the Warriors, and he's got the young star here, Harris Tavita, starting to play well. Adam Finnell-Blake, new recruit. He's just so hard to handle. He's got the offload. He's got the footwork. Great signing for the Warriors. Tanor Brown, he was solid. Elias Katoa. Again, the way they use their bench, I guess it's tough because of their bench. I mean, Tavanga, Murdoch Masila, Leeson Armia, and Bunty Afoa, all 4 of these guys were pretty good off the bench, and that was the worry I had with the Warriors, was their bench is just absolutely monstrous, and it's got skill with Tavanga, it's just got raw power and just... brute strength with these 3, so it's a tough bench to contain. But yeah, they took Katoa off at stages. Bailey Sirenen, I think he got concussed. That's why he came off. But I was surprised Katoa went off. Because, I mean, he's a superstar, but yeah, the way their forward pack is, like, it's sort of tough to split the minutes, because you want Tavanga playing big minutes, because every time, like, he creates so much, his defense is strong, but the only reason he played so many was probably because Egan went off with an injury, I think, in the first half. Bunty Afoa, Leeson Armia, Murdoch Masila, they sort of terrorized the times when they came on. So overall, a pretty solid performance from the Warriors. The Titans, on the other hand, very, very disappointing, honestly. I thought Ash Taylor, Jamar Fogarty, they try, Ash Taylor, I didn't really see him at all in the game, in all honesty. Fogarty, I thought, tried hard, and he tried to get involved, but couldn't really get too much to go. Brimson had a bit of a quiet game. He definitely injected himself and tried to get stuff going, but couldn't really crack the Warriors' defense. But again, hopefully he just stays fit, because there's good signs in the back line. I thought Brian Kelly was probably our most dangerous in the outside backs. The forward pack, obviously the big recruits here, Dave Fafita, Tino, they were solid. I mean, they were solid without being outstanding. They'll be better for the run. But not too much to really say about the Titans. It was a disappointing performance, but I think I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll give them a couple of weeks. Hopefully they can pick it up. But I mean, just having these 2 guys, I think for Feeder, just work his way into the season. He'll be better for the run. I thought out of 2 of these, Tino was probably the better of the recruits. I thought he was pretty strong. I thought Tyrone Peachy off the bench was actually pretty good as well. But the rest, dude, I honestly don't like the bench. I think there's much better options than goddamn Jolliffe, dude. I honestly, I don't know how he's getting a run. And then Sam Lasone, I thought he was okay, but I think there's far better options than what they've got on the bench here. But the Warriors get the win up of the Titans there. Next up, the Roosters Seagulls. So we did tip the Roosters here, and unfortunately for the Manly side, Yeah, they was yeah, pretty much what we expected came true. That the Roosters just absolutely decimated the Manly side, 46-4. Oh man, it's just it's not looking good for the poor old Manly team, dude. It's not looking good. We'll go through. I mean, James Tedesco obviously just played like he usually does and was outstanding. Brett Morris was freakish. He just, against some pretty weak defense, it's got to be said. But I mean, these two were outstanding. Luke Keary was steering the ship and played fantastic. I thought Lachlan Lamb was solid. Obviously Jake Friend went off with that head knock, so Lamb had to go into dummy half for most of the second half, and I thought he did a decent job there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jake Friend. I'm assuming he'll probably sit out this week, and there was talks of like potentially retiring, which would be pretty devastating. But they've got options, potentially with that. Like the young Sam Walker could come in and it could reshuffle. But their backline was pretty darn good. There's not too much to really say negative about it. It was just sort of just a domination. The forward pack, I mean, Takiaho was pretty good. Angus Crichton was great. Tupanua was good. Lindsay Collins playing in the starting pack was strong, playing big minutes. And then the bench came on and did a good job as well. So the Roosters clinical, against a pretty. I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know what to say about the Seagulls. Like, at the end of the day, like, they're missing. So Tom Trbojevic is gone, but like. That's pretty much it, right? Like, I mean, what should one? And I've talked about this as well with the Seagulls, that they rely too much on Tom Trbojevic. Like, obviously in every team, there's usually a couple of their best players, right? And if they're missing one of their best players, it's tough to win against the best opposition, but you still got to put in a performance. Like, if you're missing your best player, how can you dish out performances like that in round one? Terrible. Like, it's not like their forward pack. I'm looking here. Who's out of their forward pack? Like Josh Alloway, Marty DePau, Gazzeski, Curtis Aaron, and Jake Trbojevic. I mean, they're probably going to be the starters in the full strength team. And then the bench of Davey, Boyle, Paseka, like why are they leaking so many points? Like, just, and then the back line, Jason Saab, Parker, Sully, Garrick, Dylan Walker at fullback. Like, it was, it doesn't get much stronger. Like, it's, if Tom comes back into that team, do they not concede 46 points? Like, I don't. They relied too much on Tommy, and they had a disaster. Cherry Evans had an absolute shocker. I like Cherry Evans, but geez, he had a rough game. Kieran Foran, I don't know. I mean, I know Desi Hasler loves Kieran Foran, but I don't know, that Josh Schuster, I think, is a very good young player, and it's sort of tough to not have Schuster in there. Also, this dude, I am still baffled by Lachlan Croaker getting the dummy half position over Cade Cust. He played 80 minutes. I didn't even notice him out there. Cade Cust, in my opinion, is a very good player. I think he is more of a half, but I think he would do a really good job at dummy half. And I just don't rate Croaker. So yeah, a couple of weird sort of team selections here, but overall just terrible. Marty DePau, guys like Marty DePau, even Jake Trbojevic, like I know everyone loves Jake, but yeah, he's gone downhill a lot the last couple of years, in my opinion. Marty DePau has fallen off a cliff. I don't know what has happened to Marty DePau, dude. Like, he's lost the ability to break tackles. He can't offload anymore. Like, he looks as big and as strong as he ever has, but he has no impact. He has no impact like he used to. I don't know, dude. He's not that old. I'm trying to think how old he is, but he has lost a lot of go forward and just any sort of like momentum. I don't know what's going on with some of their players, but yeah, not good signs for the Seagulls. So only miss, like obviously not Tavita Funa, but Manasi Fino, I guess, is the other player that's out. But I mean, they knew he was going to be out, so yeah, I don't know. The Seagulls are in a world of hurt. Next up, we have the Panthers Cowboys. So I think in that video I did say that I thought the Cowboys would win. So I guess I got that one wrong, but in my in my real life tipping, when I was sort of looking at it a bit closer, I did end up tipping the Panthers. I don't know. I was like, I don't know about this one, dude. So yeah, we'll give me half points for that one. But overall, the Cowboys were terrible. Just awful. I mean, Kyle Feldt kicking the ball out off the kickoff like 2 times. Just what are you doing? Like what the hell is wrong with you? Seriously. just kick it down the goddamn middle, you fool. Like doing it once is bad enough, but doing it multiple times is just embarrassing, in all honesty. And that just sort of summed up the Cowboys. The Panthers, I thought the Panthers weren't that good either. I mean, they won, obviously, very convincingly, 24-0. Didn't look in any danger, but also didn't look that good. I mean, in the first half, they had all the possession. I think they're only up by 8 points. 8 points at halftime or something like that. They obviously scored a few tries at the end, with obviously the fatigue setting in. But yeah, I thought the Panthers did enough. I'm not going to say they're down or anything like that. But yeah, they're first round, obviously still working out the kinks of the new season. So I can't really read too much into it. But yeah, I thought they would put on a bit more of a score against a team that played as badly as the Cowboys did. I guess that's the one saving grace for the Cows. Their defense was a bit stiffer than it has been in previous years, so that's the only silver lining I can think of. But yeah, I thought overall everyone from the Panthers was pretty solid. I mean, Stephen Crichton didn't really see the footy at all, so that's, they've got to give him the footy. Like he's so devastating. Just give him some early ball, for God's sakes. Just give him the footy. I don't get it. Api Korosia didn't have much of an impact on the game. James Fisher-Harris was outstanding. Viliame Kikau, he only played 43 minutes, but geez, he terrorized the Cowboys. He absolutely terrorized them. Kurt Capewell I actually thought was outstanding, and I think actually this is the right call to have Capewell starting. He did go off with the head knock, I think. But yeah, having Liam Martin come on as more of that middle forward, I think works better. Capewell I think he has a few more skills for a second rower than Liam Martin. Zaya Yo was very good. Tyrone May, I think, is a very good utility. Spencer Leniu, he's an absolute tearaway. He had a good game, as well as Liam Martin. On the flip side, the Cowboys, we'll go to them. Not too much to really talk about here. I thought Reece Robson was really good from dummy half. Tamalolo, so there's obviously quite a few dramas with this. I mean, he only played 51 minutes. He only made like 50 meters. It's a little harsh because he's the first stanza he was out there, the Panthers had all the footy, but at the same time, like when the Cowboys had the ball, they didn't give it to him. Like, he only made the 2 runs. They definitely had more sets than 2 sets. Like, just give him the ball. Like, just give him the goddamn ball a couple more times. But yeah, I in my opinion, and obviously Todd Payton he's a NRL coach. I'm just a fan watching, but. And I understand, like, I get the quality over quantity argument, but at the same time, if you've got a guy like Tamalolo, the best lock in the world, one of the best forwards to ever play the game, if he can play bigger minutes and still have the impact, which he has done for years and years now, why would you not want him out there for as long as he can provide the impact? if a game is going where they're doing all the defense in the first half, yeah, take him off a bit. I can understand taking him off a bit earlier if they're just defending their goal line, and then bringing him back a bit earlier when they've got the footy. That makes sense. But, in a normal game where it's back and forth, Tamalolo has to be playing 60 plus, in my opinion. He's got to be out there for 60 plus. And don't get me wrong, some of the other forwards have to stand up. I thought Molo was really good, but Jordan McLean, Mitch Dunn, Cohen Hess, good lord. Jordan McLean, he's one of the honestly, he is one of the absolute flops of the I was going to say of the year signings, but he's been there for a few years now. But he is one of the absolute flops of signings. He has been rubbish since going to the Cowboys. McLean has not lived up to any of the potential. Cohen Hess, I thought was pretty rubbish. Josh Maguire, he came off the bench and looked very lazy. Corey Jensen was pretty solid. I thought Ruben Cotter was good. But yeah, some of their other forwards need to stand up. I don't know. Todd Payne needs to make some changes honestly, I think McLean should be dropped. I think Cohen Hess should be dropped. I think Josh Maguire should be dropped. And I think they got to blood some youngsters to come in and get something going. But yeah, their forward pack was disappointing. So you can't, Tamalolo could have been out there for longer, but some of the other forwards need to step up as well. And then the backs, they didn't see too much footy. Their defense was pretty good. I still don't really like Fido in the centers. I don't think his defense is up to scratch to be there, but I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was pretty good in the centers this game. But yeah, Michael Morgan, he was okay, but hopefully he can get back to some of his best too, because he didn't have one of his better games. Jake Clifford also not great. So, dude, the Cowboys, for this some of this attacking power to score no points, man, there's got to be something going on. I don't know what they got to do, but it's got to change quickly. So the Raiders West Tigers. I picked the Tigers, didn't I? And I thought the Tigers were pretty good for the opening half, honestly. They got the first try with Jacob Little. Jordan Rapana scored a late try, and then pretty much, straight after the break, the Tigers just came out, just did nothing. They were so bad that second half. And the Raiders, I thought, and everyone's talking up the Raiders now. I thought they were good, but I don't know, man. The Tigers were just rubbish in that second half. I don't know what happened, because I actually think they were probably the better team for the first 40. And then, yeah, Ryan James scored straight after the break, and then it was just sort of, from there, just no sort of resilience from the Tigers. So not great signs for the Tigers. I was expecting them to win, dude. I was expecting them to win, so that was a bit of a flop of a call. For the Raiders, honestly, Jordan Rapana was sort of back to a little bit of his best. Josh Papali got sin, dude. He got sin bin in the last second. He didn't even do it, dude. It's just such a ridiculous sin bin. It doesn't accomplish anything, and it's not even a sin bin worthy penalty. But I don't know. I just found it funny. I thought Josh Hodgson was pretty good coming back from a serious injury. Dynamis Louis only played the 17 minutes. I actually don't know. Did he get injured? I don't even remember. Hudson Young, I thought, was very good. Obviously, taking the role over John Bateman. I do like Hudson Young. Obviously, he was a bit... He's been a bit of a grub in his early days, but he is a good player. He's a strong defender, strong runner. Joe Tarpany had an outstanding game. He only played the 42 minutes, but geez, he made those 42 minutes count. That's for sure. And then the bench. Ryan James got through 41 minutes uninjured, which is great to see. Soliola was good. Ryan Sutton had a strong game. But overall, I thought the Raiders were okay without being too special. So, improving, sort of improvements to be made, which is good signs considering they still won 30-12. But yeah, it's definitely can still get a lot better than that, I think. And then the West Tigers, dude. Oh man, they played bad. Dane Laurie, I thought was great at fullback. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Duahi comes back. I think next round. Like surely, dude, if he actually drops Dane Laurie for. If Mo Zembai goes back to fullback and Duahi goes into the halves, I will be shocked because, I mean, Laurie was one of their best. David Nofaluma was good. I thought James Roberts looked pretty good at times. There's points in this Tigers team. They definitely have points, but yeah, they just... Oh man, they didn't play well. Joe Ofungawi, I thought the new recruit was very good for them. I thought he, a lot of offloads, a lot of impact. I thought, yeah, he was good. Luciano Leilua was probably their best forward for the game. Played very strong every time he touched it. He was sort of one of the only guys actually looked like causing any sort of issue for the Raiders. And then the bench. Yeah, the bench just really didn't do much either. I mean, the big boys, like, they talked about it like these big fellas on the bench, like Mcculloch, Utakamanu, Russell Packer, but they didn't really add any impact to the go forward. Like, it was just pretty pedestrian. So yeah, a lot of work to do for Michael Maguire to do with this West Tigers. I don't know. They're definitely going to cause some upsets, but with that type of performance, it's tough to see them making the top 8. But again, it's only round 1 of the season. We can't get too caught up in the first round. Got to give them a couple of weeks. And then the final game here, the Sharks v the Dragons. The Sharks getting the win, which I did pick. I think honestly, this was an okay game of footy. Actually, you know what? The more I'm thinking about it, it was a pretty enjoyable game. Like, I obviously wasn't going for either team. I didn't really have too much of an interest, but it was pretty tough. Like, it got pretty fiery, which I always love, dude. I would take a fiery, big hitting game of footy over a flashy, a lot of try game footy any day of the week. I love a game with some niggle, some big hits. It's so much more enjoyable in my opinion. And dude, this is a topic for another video, but man, like, I understand the NRL trying to like speed up the game, but oh man, the big hits and the aggression and the niggle, that's what footy's all about. And I'm disappointed that they're trying to sort of get away from that type of stuff. I do, the flashy stuff and the tries are nice, but yeah, at the heart of football, it's tough. So that's another discussion. But let's get into the player discussion. So the Dragons, I thought that they were okay. They were okay. I thought Dufty, he made a couple of mistakes, but overall he looked probably the most likely. Cody Ramsey had a pretty good game. Unfortunately, he got an ankle injury late in that game. Jack Bird made a decent return from injury. Looked pretty sharp. We'll see if he can get back to some of his best. Zach Lomax didn't really get much of the footy, but he's a guy sort of like Stephen Crichton. You just gotta give him early football. Just got to give him the footy. Ben Hunt, I thought Ben Hunt was actually pretty good. He came up with a couple of mistakes that dude. Oh, it's just such a Ben Hunt play, dude. The ball's in the in goal and he just completely whiffs on the kick. You got to feel bad for Ben Hunt at times because I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was a guy that looked to spark the Dragons, but yeah, he just comes out with some of those really bad errors. Not still salty about that grand final drop, but yeah, he's just got a couple of really bad areas in his game that can sort of detract from a otherwise pretty good performance. Andrew Mcculloch was sort of, as he was at the Broncos, just very strong defensively. Couple of nice runs out of dummy half. Thought he was pretty good. Rest of their forward pack. I mean, Blake Laurie, I do like Blake Laurie. He was sort of the mainstay in that little row and a little bit of aggression, which is always good to see. I do like Blake Laurie as a player. Paul Vaughan, I mean, again, Paul Vaughan a couple of years ago, he was one of the premium front rowers, but he's just gone downhill. Josh Kerr, I thought was okay in the back row. I don't know. I think he could work out there. Tarek Sims was solid. Tyrell Fuimaono I thought was pretty good at lock. And then the bench, the bench really didn't provide much of an impact. Really didn't come on and change the game for the Dragons. And then the Sharkies, William Kennedy. Dude, William Kennedy is a really good player. I like him a lot. He's very elusive, very strong. He's got great ball skills. I do like him at fullback. Ronaldo Mulatalo and Sione Katoa I thought were strong on the wings. Matt Moylan looked pretty good at 5'8", looked dangerous. And then the forward packs, Toby Rudolph I thought was outstanding. They were belting the Dragons in that first half. Like Toby Rudolph was leading the charge and looked very, very strong. And their bench didn't really do too much either, same as the Dragons. But I think their starting forwards definitely outshone the Dragons. So pretty comfortable win at the end of the day for the Sharkies there. So that is the round one recap, the round one discussion. Hopefully, guys enjoy these type of real life NRL discussion videos. Great first round of footy. We'll be back with it all again sometime later in the week to do the tips for round two. So yeah, make sure to like and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.